In this part we are going to study basic volumes. The way that we are going to draw this perspective is isometric with 30 angle. Parallel perspectives are a big help for us to edit and put our architectural ideas into the form. So a part of perspective that we are going to learn are isometric perspective. Assortment of isometric perspective are a mix of dimetric, axonometric, and balanometric. Cabinet perspectives and all the different kind of perspective that are drawn parallelly. But the most useful and used is isometric. Isometric perspective is made from 30-degree angles and sometimes are drawn with 45-degree angles. When drawing, I'm drawing the top surface of the cube first. Look closely, I'm drawing the vertical lines parallel to that line and parallel to this line. Look carefully, I'm moving the paper under my hand to be able to do this with more ease. So the angles that are important to us are these angles. I'm usually drawing between 25 and 30-degree angles, and you must be careful with parallels. So I'm applying 30 angle here, this part, and also this part there's also 30 degree. This one also, and so all of them are 30 degree. So in order to work inside these perspectives, we need to know the line management. All the parallel perspectives are made from 3 different lines, and I will draw them over here again. So I'm beginning to draw the surface like this. Look closely. In order to draw a cube, it's fine if the lines cross each other. When you are drawing this line, you must look at the line above it. And when you want to draw this, you must look at that one too. Drawing these lines parallelly is a little bit hard. It's okay if I get to these and there is a little bit line left. Being left out and having a curved line is a problem. So I've done this now for the axillization. Like all of the architectural programs, this direction is X, this direction is Y, and this direction is Z. Now I will separate all the X, and they're all parallel to each other, and all the Y's are also parallel to each other, and all the Z's. When you are doing this session's practice, pause the video and join me in drawing. This will help you a lot to find the line. Look closely, each surface contains 2 lines. This surface is made from X and Z. This one is made from X and Y. The left surface is made from Y and X. Each surface got 1 vertical line to it. The surface that is made from X and Z, Y is vertical to it. The surface that is made from Y and Z, X is vertical to it. And the top surface that is made from X and Y, Z is vertical to the surface. It's really important to know the verticals, because when we want to cut out our shape, it's really helpful to know them. If you want to cut one of the surfaces parallel to its lines, which means parallel to X and Z, I'll draw the lines. This is a base of our cut. If we move towards Y, which means parallel to it, I'm applying my cut here. We cut it this easily. And on the top surface, if we consider X and Y, I'll draw parallel to X and Y, X and Y, and I will use the Z for the vertical line on our surface. And also on the left side, like the one before, parallel to Z and Y, and I'll give it depth with X. So in order to understand this better, we need to give it some hatching. And in order for your hand to get used to hatching, I will give you a very simple practice. Draw a cube, and like I said, we draw the top surface first and then vertical lines and the surface below. So what we do is, on the left side, I'll start hatching from top to bottom, and from bottom to top, top to bottom, bottom to top. Do this very patiently. The goal of this practice is for your hand to act accordingly in drawing and detecting vertical lines. So we do this very easily to the end. Be careful so you don't mix your lines together. And on the right surface, we do the hatching from left to right and right to left. Pay close attention to the space between the lines so they are clean and separate from each other. It's very important to move from left to right and right to left. And it's very important on the both sides to act accordingly, which means for them to be parallel to the main line, so they are not going up and down. For the top line, I'll change the angle of my arm a little bit, and I'll do the lines from right to left and left to right. So I rotate my page a little bit so I can hatch with more ease, because hand can't position in this angle very well. So when you have free time, do this type of practice, because it helps a lot to draw vertical lines and to make your hand act accordingly. So now I'm applying the same thing on the area of the cube that we've cut for our hand to get used to it. When I'm doing the cutting practice, I'm always doing the hatching, so my hand is completely used to drawing vertical lines. And the bottom part that is pointing above, I don't hatch, because I don't want any interference between the lines to happen. So let's make the cut a little bit more difficult and check different type of cuts together to see what will happen. I'm drawing the next cut over here. As I said, you can change the angle of the paper proportional to your hand, so you can do this move easily. If you made a mistake, correct it. And then I'll start the cutting. This time I'll do the cutting a little bit more different, which means I'll move it closer to the edge and I'll consider the parallels, like this, the first cut. I'll put the second cut over here, facing above, very thin. And when I got here, the cutting will change. Look closely. I changed the cut and this happened. And I'm using the line that is vertical to the surface to move inside. And these two like this, and I'll move them vertical to bottom, just so easily. But there is a very important subject here. How we can detect which line will result in depth, and how can I understand to go inside from this corner or that corner. There is a thing here. Look, if on a surface you want to apply a cut when you've drawn the first layer of the cut, I got 4 corners and I check verticals to the surfaces. Like this one is vertical to this one, also, which means it's in a line with our x-axis. The vertical line, which is surrounded inside the cut, is the correct one. Which means if I draw this, it will go outside, which is wrong. But this one is surrounded, so it's the correct one. And what we use these other 3 for is for highlighting the shape. So when we want to give it dimension, we'll use these 3, and when we want to give it depth, we'll use the one that goes inside. I'll do a little hatching for it to be more clear. As you can see, this cut is completed. So now I'll make the cut a little more difficult. What I'll do is like this. I'll tell you the basic practices over here with some examples. And the rest of the cutting topics, which are about giving volume, will be explained in more advanced course, which you can get your hands on right now and enjoy learning. Now what we do here, look closely, I'll do the cutting a little bit more open now. This part like this. To turn and come down. Like this. Vertical to it will be Z and Y. So I'll cut this too easily like this. And I'll do it on the surface like this. Vertical to it will be Z and I'll move towards Y. This part also like this. Vertical to it will be X and I'll move inside. Just like this, and I'll start hatching now. Later on, when we want to do the surfaces, we can use marker and color pencil and have a different work. This part also vertical, from top to bottom. Be careful with the lines, so they are parallel to each other. Just like this. So now we've learned how to do vertical and horizontal cuts. Now I want to, in vertical and horizontal cuts, explain some simple cuts for you guys. From simple cuts in vertical and horizontal cuts. I can reminisce of these cuts that you can do whatever you want and go to the end of the line with your cuts. Like you picked up a slice of cheese and you're cutting it with a knife. Again, I specify the axis and in line with Y, X and Z, I'll do my cuts. First, in line with X, I draw these two lines vertical like this to the end, and you can see the end in the bottom, just like this. So I cut it with the knife completely. Now what I'm going to do on this side is the same to the Y, and I draw the vertical now. It's also the same on this side, parallel to each other. Try to do this practice a lot, because we need them in this major a lot and we are going to use them a lot. So I can do this cut just as easily. Try to pause this video and practice at the same time with me, so it will be hacked in your mind and you will be able to use it whenever you want and need it. I'll start hatching now. We start hatching on the left side, like each other, and on the right side, like each other. Again like this, parallel to the ones that are on the right side. Just like this. So this cut is completely vertical and horizontal. I'll cut another one for you guys, but perhaps I don't hatch this one. But I'll try to give you guys some more example of this, so you guys will get to know it better. And gradually we'll change the type of the cuts, because you need to learn all kind of cuts. Pay attention now. What I do now, this time from another angle, for example, from this side this time. parallel again. I want to do this very patiently, and take your time and go steady forward. Just like this. So you can do the cuts from different angles, in all kind of forms and various algorithms. Now I'll do the next cut more freely and diagonal. In diagonal cuts, something interesting happens. I'll draw a cube again. And remember, drawing a cube maybe will take 2 or 3 weeks for you guys to be able to cut it properly, like the 30-degree angles. And I'll try to give you guys some isometric pattern and try to draw on them till your hand is used to it. And it's part of its muscle memory, so you can draw a lot of very precise and accurate angles. And you draw so much so your hand is used to drawing extremely parallel lines. So pay attention now. I'm highlighting 2 dots here, just like this, and parallel to it with some distance. But the vertical line to the surface will be Z, and now our cut looks different and it's diagonal. We are doing the same thing again, parallel to this new axis and parallel to the Z axis. And parallel to the top line, I'm going to draw a line down here, and we have a diagonal cut so easily. And now let's check this cut again in another form. Pay attention. This time I'm going to draw it like this. This part is connected to this part, but there is no need for the second part to be parallel to the other one. We can draw just like this, a little angled and slant. And parallel to Y. We'll connect it to the other side and parallel to the slant one. It's going to be like this. Done so easily. Now we'll separate the top. Parallel to X and Z. And parallel to that slant line. And if we hatch this, they look much better. So I'll hash them parallel to the new line. I'll do vertically or parallel to the new line. These cuts that we're doing are the basis of our architectural drawing, which means you need to master them, and when we are drawing a mass or a volume and thinking in architecture to them, we can have a very pleasant outcome from this. Very good shape and very nice symmetry. So we can design our project. And here we draw a parallel to the inclined line. And as you can see, when we hash them, you can see the cuts more clearly. And now I'm going to do a different cut on an inclined surface, because I want you to learn this by the root and you find and create new cuts for yourself. You don't have any limits for the cuts. You can do all kinds of cuts and however you want them to be, with any angle that you want. Now what I'm going to do is to mix, which means I'm going to have a simple cut like this. Look, this cut is quite simple. I can go vertical inside, or I can connect these two to have an inclined surface. And it'll happen just like this. and we created an inclined surface. Now if I want to make this cut a little bit more complicated, at the end of this I can create this area and come down here and connect it with the other line. So this inclined surface is completely detached from the rest now. I'll hatch the inclined surface parallel to its surface. I can make it stand out. Just as you can see, this cut is standing out when we did the hatching. Different materials that you use are very important. If we go a little further, I'll create buildings with this simple concepts and shapes. So if you spend a little more time, you can see how easily you can design an architectural building with these simple shapes. So now we'll go to the next subject, which is pyramid. And now we'll see how to draw one. In order to draw a pyramid, when you've drawn a cube, you just need to find the middle of the top surface of the cube, and you can do that only by crossing the lines from two sides and mark the middle with a dot, and from that line connect to the corners of the surface below. This is one way to draw a pyramid. The second way to do it is I draw two lines here because third and fourth line is behind it and you can't see it anymore. We connect the lines in middle from the corner and you have the middle, and you can go vertically up and find the and you connect it to the corners now. So I can draw a pyramid like this, and now we don't have an extra lines anymore. When you want to cut a pyramid, you need to pay attention to the guiding line, an inclined line, which means when you connect it from the top to bottom to the frame of the pyramid, these are our helping lines. Here we have two helping lines alongside our X, Y, and Z axis. I'll use them for cutting. I'll draw parallel to X axis and parallel to our helping line. And on the other side, it's parallel to Y and Y axis. I'm coming down with the helping line towards the Y axis. On the left side, we need X axis to give it depth, just like this. And on the right side, we need Y to give our shape depth. And now we're going to give it a little hatch, and they will become completely separate. So I'm doing the hatching now. Now this side I'll do the hatching vertically. Now as you can see, it's completely separate. The cut happened like this. So our inclined surface is very important for it to follow the helping line. I'll do the same over here. And I'll do another one from top to bottom, just like this, and I will start drawing. Separating the top completely. Now I'll cut this one into 4 pieces, and I'll move parallel to our inclined surface, just like this. And again parallel to our inclined surface, and I'll connect them just like this. And here I'll give it depth with Z axis, and this one parallel to its inclined surface. This part is going inside with X and this part with Y. Now with a very simple hatch, it will stand out. And we can have it vertically over here. So I've cut a pyramid into 4 pieces over here. Now consider this, I'll draw them upside down. So I'll draw our X and Y axis and I'm coming down from here. And because we want to draw the pyramid upside down, we'll draw the lines behind the cube. So I did just that very carefully, and I'll draw the middle diameter, which means I'll connect it to the middle line. Just so easily, we have an upside down pyramid. Now look, the same principle that I explained at the top, that you need to draw the guiding lines parallel to its inclined surface, it also applies here. Which means I'll connect one to the middle, right here, and one here, and I can even have this too. So we have a guiding line on every surface separately. We'll do a simple cut to see how it will turn out. I can cut the bottom parallel to X and Y axis, just so easily. We'll do the same at the top. I'll copy the outlines, moving towards the middle, but I see this here. So we've cut the bottom, just like this. So from here, it became shallow. Now consider this. In interior design, I can use it as a flower pot. I can use the shape of it in architecture. I can use it in landscape. If you practice and master basic volumes and use them more, you can become much more innovative in your designing. You can know the properties of these volumes and study their psychology and know about the cube, sphere, pyramid, and cylinder. This stuff can help you design much better. Now in the next part, it's better that we go to cylindrical volumes to see how we can draw a circle in this perspective and resolve it. I'll pick up a new paper for the cylinder, and I'll start drawing cylindrical shapes in the cube. First off, it's good to know for drawing a circle in its surface of the cube, you need to connect two sides from the middle. And highlight these because they are specifying the angles and tangentials. From this side tangential, I move towards this one. And from this one, I'll move towards this one. And from this one to this one. So I can draw a circle from 4 tangential. So when we've learned this, we know that you only need to cross the line here and indicate the 4 tangentials. So if we want to make this into a cylinder, we also need a diameter that can specify this for me. If I determine the height of my cube like this, and connect from the top side to bottom, and draw the diameter, and connect from the top diameter to the bottom, and specify the distance here. 5 dots for creating an arc is enough. From this to this, from this to this, also this to this, and to the end part. Just so easily, we can draw a cylinder. I'll do this one more time. But this time I'll tell you guys a bit more about cylinder cuts. But beforehand, what we can do is to draw a cylinder from other angles. So the first thing that we do again is specify the middle again, and we get the tangentials. And from this tangential to this one, from this one to the other one, just like this. Then I'll draw the diameter from the top side to the bottom side. Then I'll draw the diameter on the bottom and from the top to the bottom. And whatever the distance is, I'll take it to count over here, 3 dots over here and 2 dots over here. Just so easily, we created a cylinder. let's analyze other angles of a cylinder. I'll come down vertically here, like this. If an angle is wrong, draw it correctly again. Look carefully. I connect the middle side again. Just like this, I highlight the tangentials. Again like this, from the top tangential to the bottom. Now we have a circle. And on the next side, we do the same thing. If we want our cylinder to be like this, I'll highlight the middle again, one diameter over here, another one over here, and connect them to each other. So I'm doing the same thing, and I'll take the distance to count. So I'll connect them again, one by one, just so easily. I got a cylinder like this in this angle. And now let's look at the cuts. This one I'll show the axillization again. And the new axis that turns with the cylinder. So when we want to cut it, look carefully. I can draw parallel to x-axis. I can draw parallel to z, just like the cube one coming down vertically. And I'll draw parallel to the cylinder itself, coming down parallel to the cylinder and vertically down. This part I can give it depth with x-axis and this part with y, and determine the intersection. And I'll do hatching so it can be seen more easily. I can strongly say how much you need to do this practice. It will never be enough. And also I think you will need 7 or 8 years of continuous practice of this in your schedule. Even for the basic practices. Because remember, if you want to draw and design very good, you need not to forget the basic practices. It's very important to go back to the root and check if there is something wrong, so the wrong part would not grow. So I'll do the cut from a different angle this time. Look closely, just like cutting a cake. I'll bring them like this parallel to our curve. Parallel to x that side, parallel to y that side, and it will turn out like this. And when we do the hatching, it will stand out even more. Just like this. In this part is the same principle again. If you draw the vertical again and send it to this side, in this part I can use the curve that is facing down. And then I'm using the curve like this. Take this to the end. Also look, we can also give it depth with y and z and x. As you can see, this cut is a little bit more difficult. But in your practices, you can master this a bit by bit and slowly. How much you master these shapes, it will help you to do even more interesting designs. Now, if you want to be more creative, we need to know the geometry. I'll tell my students to try to get to know the geometry of all the shapes and all the shapes' potential. Because when you want to design, you need to think of these small details. So in designing, I need to know all the basic shapes, to know how to mix them together. So let's mix them together with sphere shapes. Drawing sphere is a little bit hard, But if you want to draw an added half or quarter of a sphere to our shapes, we must know how to draw a sphere in order to be able to use them in our shapes. Look closely. I'll draw it with 30 to 30 degree angles, and I will draw the vertical lines also in 30 degree angles. And I determine the tangentials here, and I'll connect them together from the top tangential to the bottom, from top to bottom. This is a quarter of a sphere. So we've drawn a quarter of a sphere over here. So what will happen for the whole sphere? We just completed the rest of it from this side to here, to the next quarter, and this side, and the next quarter, just like this. And remember, the diameter need to be drawn later on. Bottom quarter, the side quarter. Just as you can see, I've drawn a sphere here. So this is a technique, and this technique we might not even use the sphere directly. We might use it in our designs. We might draw a circle and highlight it with the shadows to show that it's a sphere. So I can do this much more easily. But when we want to combine it with other volumes, let's check that now. First, I'm going to talk about mixing cylinder shapes, and then we'll mix sphere shapes with other stuff to see how it will turn out. I draw this cube like this, and I want to add half of a cylinder over here. I highlight the middle here, and I'll come forward the same length over here. 30 degree, 30 degree. I'll draw the tangential from this tangential to the middle, and from the middle to the side. And we do the same for the bottom. And we need to connect the corner of that diameter. I was doing the same thing as sphere. Next part, I'll highlight the middle again. I'll go out the same length. In the bottom, if I draw the lines behind our shape, this side also the same, and we have it like this, from this tangential to the other one. And I'll connect the diameter. Look, both sides are cylinder now. Now what I'm going to do is, it's just enough to go up the same length of this quarters, also from this side. I'll connect them together from this tangential to the other one, and from this one to the other one, and from this tangential to this one. Also, don't forget this diameter, from this one to the upper tangential, and then connect it to the bottom, and don't forget the diameter. So look closely. We have a quarter of a sphere. Oh, sorry, we had 1/8 of a sphere over there. It's a quarter of a half of a sphere. I'll connect a quarter of a cube to the half cylinder, connect it to a cube. So it's a very different mix that we created. And if I do a little hatch over here, maybe it will become more clear that what we've done here. I'm using the shader because I've worked with this before, and it has a pencil marking on it, and I can color with this one. And when we are a little further in render topic, we will have a look on this topic again. Anyway, look how easily we've done this mix.